so we can count our delegate totals. All right. Once I call your number, just go ahead and sit down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, yep, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Pat him on the head.
Yeah.
You were
See,
down.
J. Mark is smart. You are.
This one is better, just for y'all, for future reference. You point and they say the number. That way there's no confusion when you're pointing.
Okay. I think that train's down the road. Too.
Yeah, then call.
I got a protocol question. Since we're gonna be on the stage for about 3 hours, is it all right to get up and go a little bit on the mat?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if it was bad optics.
You have to do a new quorum call at that point.
Only if you think it's necessary.
Motion to
I think we're
recess
not
for
going to
1
reach
minute.
be a quorum.
All right, count to 62.
Are you sure?
63, 64, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. Hoorah! All right, 70. All right. So next up is item number 17, which is the final call for nominations. So right now we have Vice Chair, Secretary, Treasurer, and At-Large 2 and 3 up for elections. Is there any open nominations at this time? This is the final call for nominations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Barfield?
yeah, I'd like to nominate Mr. Davy Parrish for at-large 2.
Mr. Parrish for At-Large 2. Davy Parrish for At-Large 2. I'm sorry? Is there...
Tell all those people also to talk right into the mic.
I'll repeat my motion. Davy Parrish for at-large 2. At-large 2, Parrish, Davy.
Are there any other nominations at this time? Mr. Klass, you're recognized.
This is your...
You're right. Yes, sir. One moment.
There you go. Okay, now we're up. All right, I wish to make 2 nominations. I would like to nominate J. Mark Barfield for Vice Chair and Chris Rose for At-Large 2.
I believe they've already been nominated, so we're good to go. Thank you. Any other nominations at this time? All right. Open nominations going once, going twice, going 3 times. Sold. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to the election for officers, item number 18. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go from top to bottom. So we'll start out with Vice Chair, then we'll move on to the Secretary, the Treasurer, and at which point we'll move on to At-Large 2 and 3. I will give each candidate 5 minutes to speak about themselves, followed by 3 minutes of public interaction. So if you have any questions for the candidate, it'll be followed by 3 minutes for public comment or questions. At which points, once we have all the candidates done speaking, we'll move on to a ballot. What we'll do in this instance, because we have a couple races here that do not have any competition, there will be NOTA and there will be the candidates. So because of the Libertarian Party, the way we do things is NOTA is always on every ballot. So that means even though we're going to have paper ballots, we'll still have to vote even in an uncontested election. Now, if it is the will of the body, we can have somebody, if they'd like, if the body would like, come to the microphone and ask to have the elections that are uncontested done by claim, which essentially means that it is, if it's uncontested versus NOTA, then they just win. So if anybody would like to make that motion, now's the time.
So moved.
All right, so motion's moved, seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I need some names I didn't see.
Right now, the uncontested races are treasurer, secretary, and at-large 3. Is it 3? Naveen Zakari is at-large 3?
At-large
Yeah, so 3, and secretary and treasurer. All right, and that motion was made by, what's your name, sir? Bob Frank, and seconded by Lee Koritzer. All right. Yes, sir.
Can you state who are for each of those positions as uncontested currently?
Certainly. So right now, currently for secretary, we have Mr. Ed Appler.
He hasn't confirmed that.
For, oh,
Technically, this is a voluntary organization. We cannot compel consent, so you have to ask each of the nominees if they're willing to serve
That's a
before
good
they're
point.
nominees.
so I'd like to ask the candidates in this election, going from vice chair, Mr. J. Mark Barfield, do you accept your nomination?
I do, thank you.
Mr. Omar Requero, do you accept your nomination? Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, at this time, am going to decline the nomination. It was something that a few people wanted to do, and I really appreciate that. And I thank all of you for, all the support throughout the years as I served here as vice chair. It was some of the best years of my life and one of the best learning experiences of my life. And I'm still here in a different phase in life right now, but at this moment in time, I'm going to decline the nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Requero. All right. Mr. Appler, do you accept your nomination?
Mr. Chair, I accept the nomination.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Oliver Doty, do you accept your nomination?
Yes, I accept.
All right, thank you. All right. Davey Parrish, do you accept your nomination? All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Rose, do you accept your nomination? Excellent. Naveen Zakari, are you here? Does anybody know if Mrs. Zakari has accepted her nomination for Director at Large 3?
It's
Okay.
my understanding.
And it's mine as well, so I believe that's acceptable. Okay, excellent. So right now, the only contested race we have is at large 2. So so we have a current motion now on the floor, seconded by Mr. Lee, by Mr. Frank. All right, this motion's on the floor to accept to have a claim for each race, which there's no contestant besides NOTA. Is there any discussion on this motion?
There is no discussion on this motion.
There cannot be discussion. It's a privileged motion. All right, there's a privileged motion, so there'll be no discussion. So we'll go ahead and move on to a voice vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right, so in which case I will give each nominee 5 minutes to talk about themselves and 3 minutes for public comment, for questions, at which point we'll go ahead and move on. All right, first up is Mr. J. Mark Barfield. You're right. I apologize. So we'll just skip that then. So we'll go ahead and move on to at-large 2, at which point we'll have either Davey Parrish or Mr. Rose come up. Do we have a coin we can toss?
Who was first nominated?
Order of nominations? I believe Mr. Rose was nominated first, so Mr. Rose, you can come up to the stage and have your 5 minutes, sir.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. like to thank everyone for coming all the way back here just to hear me talk. My name is Chris Rose, and I know I don't need any introduction to most of y'all here, but for those of y'all perhaps unfamiliar, or for those of y'all who like to go to the bathroom during my reports, let's recap. So in April of 2019, after 14 months of faithful service on the EC, I resigned my position as Director at Large 2 weeks before last convention, saying that I wanted the delegates to choose my replacement and let me try to work off the EC for a while. In some ways, yes, it can be easier to get stuff done if you don't have a target on your back by being an EC member. I supported Larry Gillis as my successor, who won the seat last convention in Tampa. I trusted Mr. Gillis to carry on what I had tried to drive the focus on for the party. Mr. Gillis resigned a couple of months later and endorsed me for the position back. I did not receive a nomination from the EC. They elected Mr. Parrish, and I kept on working somewhat behind the scenes on a set list of projects that I had undertaken and I knew were important to the overall health and integrity of the LPF. My list of completed projects this past year include the following: a review of the governing docs for inaccuracies pertaining to amendments made at last convention, highlighting these and bringing them to the attention of the EC. As of yesterday, the LPF Constitution that is still currently linked on the LPF website does not contain the correct language that was amended unanimously by this body in Tampa. I also itemized county affiliate fundraising numbers, finding out where recognition could be placed, and also where additional support was needed. When I undertook this specific project, I found that there were multiple affiliates who were delinquent at the risk of being fined from filing reports to their supervisor of elections. After reaching out, these were able to be corrected. One affiliate, even after I have not filed all of last year, was able to come back in good standing with their SOE, and I'm proud to say that now all county affiliates are legal and correct, and everything is posted as proper on the Supervisor of Elections websites for all affiliates. Another issue was the list of affiliates on the LPF website containing multiple errors. The LPF website not featuring all of our currently elected officials in government. The lack of reports for months in a row filed on the forums. LPF social media not featuring candidates. For 8 months straight, we had one single candidate featured on the LPF Facebook page, a total of 8 times. Since I brought this to the attention of the executive committee, I have gained access as editor of the LPF Facebook page, and I have shared more content relating to LPF candidates, affiliates, and activism than anyone else in the past 2 months who also has access combined. I also gathered feedback from every single active candidate at the time this year, and I consolidated that into a list in order to kind of keep the conversation that was erupting on social media off of Facebook. I consolidated that list and presented it to the EC as a list of basic suggestions and best practices. My focus this year for 2020 in this important election year is primarily going to be on candidates. The most important stat that I recognize is 0 for 33. In 33 years of existence as a state party, the Libertarian Party of Florida since 1987 has never had LPF win on the ballot. Nonpartisan seats, successes and victories for nonpartisan races, but no partisan candidates. We have no state house, we have no state senate, and so on down the line. Andre, I hope you win, sir. So my focus is going to be on, in line with the LPF Constitution, specifically Article 1, would be to be the bridge gap between what the LPF's defined roles and responsibilities and duties are, and bringing those to the support of the county affiliates who are also active, who are also asking for the support.
That's time. I'll let you wrap up.
That's the timer?
That's it.
Oh,
Yep.
okay,
Just 5 seconds just to wrap up if you have it.
great. Again, my name is Chris Rose, and I'm running for at-large 2. I ask you for your vote. And 3 minutes, I will gladly take any questions the body might have.
Mr. Claus?
So recently you made a trip to Tallahassee in regards to advocacy on behalf of the party as it relates to preserving gun rights. Can you elaborate more about your efforts and advocacy on some of the issues in addition to some of the works that you've done for the party itself?
Thank you, Andre. When I saw that SB 7028, which is the latest expansion of SB 7026 that passed a couple years ago, was coming down the pipeline from the state legislature, I made a phone call to Davey on the EC, and I asked if the executive committee had any kind of response. He had told me if I would write something that he would move it as a motion. I said, all right, give me about an hour, and I wrote the resolution that I'm proud to say passed unanimously the executive committee, and I took that resolution with me in person to Tallahassee, and I distributed it to every single state senator and a specific number of House members, committee members, and what have you. But I did take that with me and lobbied for a full day in the state capitol against that gun bill.
There's time for about another question or two. You got a minute left?
Absolutely.
Minute 17.
You're about to recognize, right?
Oh, Mr. Requero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Rose, we've heard a lot about, institutional knowledge and things of that nature over the course of the day today. You sound like a really hard-working guy. In fact, one of the hardest-working guys in this state. Are you willing to teach what you've learned to others? Can you do that?
Thank you, Omar. Yes, I believe that is crucial to our success. The party's institutional knowledge is vital to training and recruiting and to helping bring up the younger, and by younger I don't necessarily mean age, but maybe length of tenure in the party, the younger generation. We have too few members right now doing a tremendous amount of work, and while I do love and support them in their efforts, mathematics of it are just not sustainable unless we can find others to not only share the load but one day fulfill our roles. I have grown to detest titles in this organization. I think titles without massive success mean nothing. And I see I'm out of time here, but I will say yes, that I will do my darndest to pass on everything that I know and notice to everyone, not just on the EC, but anyone that wants to throw in with me and anyone that I also throw in with at that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rose. All right, our next nominee is Mr. Davey Parrish. If you'd like to come up to the stage, sir.
Figure out the sound procedure.
5 minutes.
All right, my name is Davey Parrish, and I won't need all 5 minutes. I despise talking about myself, and I do not keep a big record on all the things that I have done. But my main goals are to make sure that the members of the LPF feel that they are heard and that their opinion matters. I also want to make sure that the LPF improves in operation so that we may run efficiently and effectively to accomplish all of our goals. Yes, I do still plan to send out surveys to our members and host AMAs so that we can strengthen member participation. That is all.
All right, thank you, sir. Did you want any time for, you have 3 minutes for any questions?
Okay.
If anybody has any?
Mr. Glass?
Mr. Class, go ahead.
Respectfully, from one candidate to another, I was on the EC of my own party affiliate, and at the point in time when I was on the EC of my affiliate, I ended up feeling a lot of times that I felt conflicted between the duties that I had to my affiliate as well as the duties I had to my campaign. That essentially I felt overwhelmed and that my focus was ended up being split all over the place. Would you have concern that maintaining a position on the EC would potentially detract from your ability? Because I know you're also currently running on a partisan race that's a county level race in your jurisdiction right now. Are you concerned that you might find yourself in a position where that your ability to succeed in one or the other venture might end up being held back by remaining on the EC instead of being able to give a full 100% commitment to your campaign? Thank you.
No, I don't believe it would. And I am running for tax collector. It is a partisan race in Columbia. And I don't think it will detract from my ability in the campaign, because I've recently acquired a really good team that assists me in all the aspects of my campaign.
Any other questions for Mr. Parrish? Mr. Detweiler, you're recognized. Mic check.
All right, can everyone hear me? I usually have a pretty loud voice anyways. Unfortunately, in this party, as many of us who are very active know, we have a problem with inspiring the people who sign up for positions to actually do their positions and to participate in the party in the roles that they wanted to. So how would you inspire people who are active and required to be active to both do their jobs but to also want to actually be a part of something instead of just having a title? But it is one of the roles of the position, and it is as a leadership, it's important, and I know Mr. Rose.
30 seconds remaining.
Quite well, okay.
How to inspire people?
Yes.
I think I've got a decent track record of inspiring people. I have created one of the most active county affiliates in North Florida, probably in all of Florida, one of the most active. We have, on average, 9 to 15 attending and 9 sustaining members. And yep.
Go ahead and just wrap it up. And
so I think I have a good track record of inspiring people.
I didn't catch that.
I think I have a good track record of what I've done in my county affiliate to inspire those to continue the work even when it seems like we're not getting anywhere.
all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Parrish. All right. Well, since we only have one election, how we're going to do it is we'll be passing out pieces of scrap paper, which we have prepared here, to the delegates, and everybody will have a chance to cast their vote for either Mr. Rose, Mr. Parrish, or Noda. In the event that Noda wins the election, the previous 2 contestants cannot run in a subsequent race. So we'll go ahead and we will start passing those out now. Find a pen and cast your ballot. Once you've cast your ballot, bring it up to the stage, and we'll begin the counting process and announce the winner.
Remember, make sure they have a delegate badge before you take their vote. Yes.
You want my hat? Philippe. I I can't walk them down. I was just off my application.
Just don't squeeze. Just don't squeeze.
I plan to. I'm still debating. You're still contemplating my vote?
Congratulations, Mr. Barfield.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Prepared to make angry boomer speech. I'll spare everyone.
All right, once you've cast your ballot, you can go ahead and put your ballot in the bag that Mr. Detweiler has.
Oh, Philippe's handing my hat around, too.
Oh, we have a hat? Well, we have a hat and a bag. Okay. Oh, I didn't know. Well, the hat looks almost full, so we have a bag and a hat.
So I take him down.
Well, that's dangerous. Where's the bag?
Sir? Badge, sir?
It still says at large 3.
Delegate. That is the correct thing to do.
Excuse me.
Yes,
I need
ma'am.
to talk to you about the train.
Oh, dear.
Oh my God. No, I need to leave this time.
Oh, okay.
We have,
Adam always counts the votes.
that's fine.
He always counts the votes.
What's that? We're good. Are you all going to resign first? Are you all going to resign first? You're doing the right choice. I'll nominate Tony to run against you Yes, yes. I'm doing it for my good old friend.
Now, you know you have an ulterior motive. You want to put me on.
Yes, I do. It's all good. Thank you. I was ready to vote for him myself. Just to be fair. It's freaking out. Well, I feel like getting up and dancing. Yeah. Do the white man shuffle. And it'll be fun if his pants fall. It's very bright.
It is it's the LED purple one. It is seriously so bright. I can't even tell. No, that one you were just working on. Yeah, it is literally so bright. I can't see you right
That's
now.
the position you're in, actually.
Right. It's
Yellow for me is like burning holes in my retina.
maybe just like because it is really blinding.
Yeah, I think it's,
Yeah, it is. I can still see it. I know. It's still doing it. Well, I mean, it's really hard to adjust it right now. Sorry. So weird.
we had a professional.
Did you hear that? You want to go get you some glasses? Are you sure? I'm so sorry about this. I've trust you. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that probably does make it easier to protect a little bit. Yeah. I'll tell Steve. I know from being right. I can still see it when I close my eyes. I can see the LEDs. All right.
Yeah. Flashback.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, currently we do not have a majority of votes cast siding with either one, so we do not have a victor. Currently, the vote tally is 37 votes for Mr. Rose, 36 votes for Mr. Parrish, and 1 vote Noda. Someone would need 38 votes in this election to win, so we'll be reballoting. So we'll go ahead and cast out new ballots.
Can we take a
Yeah, and also, what's, do we have a call for a quorum? So we're going to go ahead. Yes, sir, you're recognized.
Yes, this is Jonathan Roche. I do have one quick question.
Yes, Mr. Loche.
As Mr. Parrish came in second, as I understand how the LNC does it, wouldn't he be dropped off and it would be Mr. Rose and Noda who would be on the next round of balloting?
I'm going to defer to our rules chair.
As I remember in 2012 in Vegas, when it was between Rutherford, Mark Hinkle, and Noda, because Mark Hinkle came in second, so then it went to Mark Rutherford and Noda, when Noda eventually won.
Correct. Normally you drop the lowest and you have the next two running the race.
Right. So, no, because we have, okay, so no, because there's two candidates and Noda cannot be dropped off the ballot. Noda's always on the ballot.
Right, what I'm saying is Mr. Parrish should be dropped off the ballot, and the next round should be Mr. Rose and just Noda.
If it was a three-way race, you'd be correct. But because it's a two-way race, we have two. Yes. All right. So I did get a call to seal the room. So what we're going to do is our sergeant at arms is going to seal the room. Nobody's allowed to leave. No one's allowed to come in as a delegate. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have it. You're trapped. So we're going to have a quorum call one more time so we understand where we are at with our quorum. Then we'll go ahead and we'll reballot. So everybody go ahead and stand up if you have a black delegate badge. The quorum count before was 70.
Well, we had 78 this morning, so it's possible. There are 83 delegates.
Doors open. Doors open.
So that's, so you can put it in. We're just gonna close it, that's all.
Room is not sealed. What was the quorum?
We're at 83. We're at 78. Regarding sealing, can we make, the vote is not held sealing.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, so we do need a vote to seal the room. We have so there's a motion on the floor to seal the room. Do we have a second? All right, all in favor of sealing the room, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. The door is sealed.
Any non-delegates must leave the room. Any non-delegates must leave the room at this time. We're only going to have
These guys are here.
All right, if you do not have a black delegate badge, you will be needing to leave the room, and our sergeant at arms will escort you out. If you do not have a black delegate badge, you must leave the room at this time. All right. Yeah.
I didn't hear. Okay. It was just a voice.
Mr. Chairman, door sealed. Thank you, sir. 2, 3,
Nope, we can't, it's too late. Sorry.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
I threw a couple of balloons.
19, 20.
Can I have my hat back? I don't want to get squished. I know. I can't fly. Zach, give me my hat, please. Hat. I feel naked. Yeah, it's, yeah.
34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 42, 43, 45. Does anyone have anything else he's looking at?
Can leave them up here.
Yeah, we were last. I'm going to return these to the
It keeps going to something. There's a clear window.
65,
Yeah.
66,
From what I hear.
67.
I wouldn't see like that. Hello.
70, 71,
Thank you, sir.
72,
Hurry. Can I vote twice already?
74, 75.
All right. So, at this time, you have the choices of Mr. Parrish, Mr. Rose, and Noda. This vote does require a majority to pass. So we'll go ahead and, don't get up, but we'll come around and we'll gather your ballots and go ahead and count.
This needs a simple majority. Since I'm familiar with the majority.
I think it was seconded by. No. Yeah, it's just hold on for a few minutes if you can, unless you have to leave.
I second the
I would be doing some lobbying right now.
I think it was Zach.
I only need extra people.
Yeah, exactly.
Missed it. I wasn't looking. I'm pretty sure Zach Detweiler voted to seal the room.
Yes, we.
I'm pretty sure it was Zach.
Was it Zach? And
We
seconded by
made the
you?
motion.
Seconded by me,
and
yeah.
seconded to seal.
It was motion by Zach and seconded by Philip. Yeah.
Okay.
There's things I need to not miss ready last year.
You have a thankless job.
One information, what was the quorum count, what is the minimum required to pass?
75. I think it was 74. So the quorum count was 74.
Like you missed a cupcake.
Yeah, 38 would be required to win, yeah.
38 is required to win. Right here?
One more behind you, Chair.
Oh, well, challenge. I didn't have a chance to ask you, how's your wife doing? Good, good. She recovering? Oh, okay. I know I met her last year, but I didn't recognize her.
She hasn't left the room since we've met her.
Oh, okay. There's probably a lot of good TV there.
She hasn't eaten since we've met her, except for what we brought with us.
Oh, really?
I asked her to go out to lunch, but she didn't feel like getting dressed. She hadn't gone to bed yet. Just arrived. She's probably sleeping now. I
There's
expect.
a wonderful Friday.
I don't like going to chain places, but I was thinking they'd probably go there. Just
Say again. Which direction? I'd even buy some of these. I'd even pay for some of these. Yeah. How many do you have? I don't want to be gluttonous. I'll take 10 and I'll give you $10. Yeah, exactly. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you wondering, yes, you are being detained. All right, so we do not have a majority of this ballot, so we will be reballoting. We have 34 votes cast for Mr. Rose, 37 votes cast for Mr. Parrish, and 3 votes cast for Noda. So we'll be moving on to a third round of balloting until we can get a majority vote.
Can I pee? Before the next ballot?
Do you guys want to take a 2-minute recess and then if we take a 2-minute, if we take a recess, then we have to come back and do this whole thing over again. So so the door is sealed.
I'm good.
If you have to leave.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to have the same process of voting. We're going to go ahead and destroy these ballots. We're going to get out new ballots and start again.
I didn't go. Would it be out of order to pee in the Coke bottle?
I don't understand what is going on. Cassidy! I told him to He can come in and
We're
set the
trying
vote.
to decide whether to settle this with a fist fight or a knife fight.
What are we doing?
I would like to make a motion at this time to invite our other two delegates, one that walked in, James Ray, and one outside, Marcos, so that would bring our delegate, our quorum count from 74 to 76. Is there a second? Seconded by John. Is there any objection to that motion? All right, hearing no objection, we can go ahead and let him in. Did James Ray, where are you? Did you get a ballot? Yes. Okay. Marco, come on down, grab your ballot. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and start collecting.
Thanks again.
Karen Ann Harlos let me know that if this ballot doesn't resolve, we can resolve it via sword or gunfight. So, a second? Any opposed? Well, nobody opposed. Is that a point of order? Gunfighter, do it. So we'll be a vote.
Let's go, fellas.
Which we're always talking about, saying that Liberty Oxford,
You know, I didn't touch it, I figured I was. I mean, we updated it, yeah, I know it took a while to get everything approved. But see, the update was earlier he was saying that we should have had last year's which is probably not a bad idea, but it wasn't required. So, don't worry. He's just Mr. Negative. His whole campaign was basically negativity. He's trying to do things proactively. Could see the difference. I thought what I wrote was the way that he said tired of bullshit, you know?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a clear winner this ballot. Job well done, thank you all. We have 34 votes cast for Mr. Rose, 39 votes cast for Mr. Parrish, 2 votes cast for Noda, and 1 vote for Superman. So I want to congratulate Mr. Parrish on a win.
I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Rose as well for his hard work and dedication to the party.
Adam forgot the votes.
Yeah, and thank you, Adam Kokesh, for being our vote counter this evening.
Point of order and then a motion. Can we unseal the room?
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
We'll need a motion to unseal the room.
May I make a motion?
Motion by Mr. Detweiler, seconded by Mr. Kortzer. Is there any objections? Yes. If there is an objection, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Nay. Motion passes.
I have another motion.
Mr. Detweiler, you recognize.
I would like to move to take a 5-minute recess so we can all go do our things.
Can I suggest maybe a 10-minute recess?
I'm fine with the amendment.
All right. We have a 10-minute recess, seconded by Mr. Wozniak. Any opposed? All right, you're all dismissed. I'll see you guys back in 10 minutes.
Okay, so the executive committee meeting is next.
Zach.
Yeah, Zach, seconded by Mr. Wozniak. So
you need to call current EC, and they have to approve by the unanimous vote. Well, they're required by voice vote to approve the slate of elected, or slate of officers. Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
That's to comply with state law.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. So the EC come up and follow it.
Yes.
Okay. So we perfect.
Well, we can address that pretty quickly. Just simply second. Hey there. All right.
Having fun.
God, it's right up here.
Yes.
Holy shit.
That's what it is. It really came from. Oh, yeah, wow, maybe I'll just sit up here. I'll just sit behind you. Sit behind you for a minute. Just waiting for blinding glaze. I can't see it. I can't see my constituents. Well, guys, I wanted to tell everybody because I can't see you and y'all just look like a bunch of silhouettes. Thank you for coming. Are we still streaming? Sorry. concept. I think it's an interesting Democrat, but he's very interesting. And he's going to come through. So I'm actually going to go have dinner with him next week. Just talk about it. See if I can answer any questions he might have. It's very difficult. So I think it'd be good to have him over as well. And if he wants to do some training stuff, that's great. He's not really far. We have a you can't imagine how much fun it's going to be. I would say You're a silhouette. But do you have any dilation glasses? That would be great. I make a motion for scorched corneas. Thank you. It seems like there's going to be this weird dynamic. Well, these shirts. You look like a cop now? Well, yeah, you're, do you have any weapons on you? Do you have any drugs? Wow, they're lovely. Thank you. Let's, I think when you put them on, I wonder if Davey thinks you're a cop. I don't know. Maybe. I bet it is. I know there's a hashtag for it somewhere. At large. If you guys can make it out to my area at some point, it'd be cool to see y'all. Because I'm going to try to come out your area. Are you serious? For work or what? Okay. Well then I guess I'll be seeing Davey a lot more. Good, I'm glad. That's awesome. Okay, well, when you come out and get settled, just let me know. I mean, I know we're hooked up on Facebook, so just let me know, and then I'll come meet you guys. We'll get Duval affiliate there, and they can be all nerdy the whole time. Yeah, pretty much. More gay stuff. You're posting more gay stuff. Not to do anything more.
All right, everyone, we're going to start to get ready to resume business here in just a moment. There he is. Well, we might need you guys.
We're like having a meeting.
All right.
Actually, you don't need it. That's okay.
We'll go ahead and get this meeting back to order. And next up on the agenda is item number 19, which is Executive Committee meeting to certify the officer slate. So at this time, I'd like to ask all current Executive Committee members to please come up to the front of the stage. I think we can stay. So all region reps and officers, come on up. Who's that? All right. So next what we're going to do is we're going to certify the slate of the newly onboarded EC members for the 2020 term. So we have Mr. Barfield for Vice Chair, Mr. Appler for Secretary, Mr. Alvadoti for Treasurer, Mr. Parrish for At-Large 2, and Mrs. Akari for At-Large 3. So I'll be going ahead and asking each of the EC members via voice vote if they approve of the EC slate. So we'll go ahead. We'll start with Suzanne. Aye. Lee?
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right. So our slate passes. Congratulations, everybody. All right. Next, we have the Rules Committee elections, item number 20. So the way this is going to work is our Rules Committee is elected first nominated from the floor, at which point we'll be moving on to a ballot process, just like we had. The ballot process works that the top three vote getters become a part of the committee. The number one vote getter becomes the chair of the committee. So at this time, I'll go ahead and open up the floor to nominations. Mr. Cortez, you're recognized. Nomination for Mr. Sellers. Any other nominations? Mr. James Ray?
Does Philippe have to be nominated, or does he have to be
Yes. Yes. All right, Mr. Philippe Cadaret.
This is J. Mark.
Mr. Barfield, you're recognized.
Nominate Mr. Omar Requero.
Mr. Requero. Any other nominations? Mr. Parrish? Mr. Rose? Any further nominations at this time?
I'd like to nominate John Thompson.
John Thompson, Mr. Thompson? All right, any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate J.J. Jensen, Duval County.
What's the last name?
Jensen.
J-E-N-S-E-N? James Denson?
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. I'm sorry, could you state your name?
My name is Joe Sokol, Duval County.
Any other nominations at this time? All right. Mr. Hote, you're recognized.
Yeah, I want to nominate Donnie Smith.
Donnie Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other nominations? All right, I'm going to go through the list and ask everyone if they accept their nomination. Starting with Mr. Rose, do you accept your nomination, sir? Okay. Mr. Sellers, do you accept your nomination? Mr. Carteret?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Requero? Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Donnie Smith?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And Mr. Jensen? Yes? Okay, excellent. So what we're going to do is similar format as before. We'll give each candidate or each nominee 5 minutes to speak about themselves. We'll have 3 minutes for comment, and we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Rose. All right, sir. Welcome back to stage.
That was entertaining earlier. I appreciate the nomination for Rules Committee. I do have a feel for the governing docs of this organization, and I do try to make sure that they are worded not only for clarity and the intent of what they intend to do, but also that we have the appropriate language to make us the most effective for our mutual goals. And if elected to the Rules Committee, I believe I have a good working relationship with everybody else who was nominated, and I would look forward to serving the party in that capacity. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Rose? Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Rose. All right, next up is Mr. Tony Sellers. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Tony Sellers. I'm currently a member of the Rules Committee and a past chairman of it. I've served for, I think, in total over the years, something like 3 terms. I'm therefore fairly familiar with the rules and have written a significant number of the ones that have been passed in the last 3 conventions. So I hope that that is an indicator of the quality of my work and that I can hopefully continue in that capacity on your behalf. Like my current chairman, I am here to look after the proper function of the organization and the rights of the members. That's what we both pledged to do when we first ran for this office as an elected office, and I pledge to continue that on your behalf. Thank you.
All right.
Good job, Joe. You're right.
That's your man who keeps getting back up. All right, Mr. Carteret, you have the podium, sir.
I am fully insured, by the way. I've been the Rules Chair for the last 2 terms. I've worked with some really fine gentlemen on this committee. We have been working carefully to protect the rights of the members to the best of our ability, to comply with statute to the best of our ability, and to make sure our rules reflect everything they must reflect so that we remain as a party. And above all, to keep ourselves as a functioning body within Florida politics. I hope to continue to do so, and I hope I have all of your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carteret. Next up is Mr. Requero. All right.
Hey everybody, we having a good time or what? Woo, come on. Libertarian Convention. Hey, thank you all so very much. Thank you for Mr. J. Mark for nominating me. I was curious as to how this was going to work out today because of the way we do the rules nomination, and I really like this format. We changed it a few years ago when I was vice chair. Charles was the chair, and the way it used to work was that the chair was automatically the chair of rules, and Charles recognized that that was just not right to do that. And so this new format came about where we elect the Rules Committee, and it's been working out really well. And while my passion is in rules and all the committees like platform and the committees that a lot of us don't like to do all that work, I am seeing a good field of candidates, and I don't want to get anyone's way, but I would like to take the time right now to advocate for one particular candidate, and that candidate is Chris Rose. He is just an outstanding activist, and he's really taken. He understands the rules. He really understands what a political party is supposed to do, and a political party has goals, and he understands that. And he is somebody that we can count on and we can rely on, and he will be someone that you can depend on that won't have an agenda. And that's really important whenever you select someone that wants to be on a committee like Rules. And it's also a time-consuming committee, so if there's anybody here who has the time to give it, it would be Chris Rose. So at this time, I'm going to take my name from the nominations, and I would like for everyone to seriously consider Mr. Rose. Thank you.
Mr. Requero. Next up is Mr. Thompson. And if Mr. Smith and Mr. Jensen want to come up by the stage, you're more than welcome to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm John Thompson. I'm from St. Lucie County, and thanks, Philippe, for the nomination. I've known Philippe and Tony for a long time. I was the former chair of Palm Beach County, chair of St. Lucie County, been a regional rep a few times. I do have an interest in the Rules Committee. The committee does great work. You know, how many times we're on their EC meetings and it's, we have to refer that to rules, refer that to rules, refer that to rules. Well, that's because everything we do, it's got to be referred back to the rules. So, all the candidates that we have up here that have been nominated, they're all great people, and I would especially Omar's dropped out, but I don't know why, man. You'd be good at this thing. And Chris Rose also, he's been doing great work. So really, I appreciate your vote, but there's a good crop here. So any one of us will be really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Next up is Mr. Donnie Smith.
There's been a confusion about my nomination. I'm declining the position.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Jensen, come on it up. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's JJ. At least that's what I've gone by for the majority of my life. I've been a libertarian since 2000. I have been active in the past with the party, having served as region rep, affiliate secretary, affiliate vice chair, and I feel like I need to get back active in the party. And so I would appreciate your vote for me on this Rules Committee. Thank you.
thank you all the nominees. Next, we'll be passing out slips of paper, and you can have up to 3 names on the ballot. As I mentioned before, the top vote getter will be the chair of the committee, and the other 2 top vote getters will be committee members. So we'll go ahead and start dispersing the pieces of paper.
Yes.
And we will be counting them up.
Point of personal privilege, can we have names on the screen, please? Point of personal privilege, can we have names on the screen, please?
Can we get, is there any way we can do it? Do you think we need like a little Word file with the names? Oh, thank you. So the candidates, again, I'll go through the names of the candidates. Mr. Rose, Mr. Sellers, Mr. Carteret, Mr. Thompson, and Mr. Jensen. I'll do my best to get the names up on the screen for you here in just a few seconds. So again, those names are Rose, Mr. Sellers, Mr. Carteret, Mr. Thompson, and Mr. Jensen.
And we're using top.
And it's a top 3 votes. You can put 3 votes on your ballot. Yes, you recognize? Oh, okay.
Can I vote 3 times?
Can I vote no to 3 times?
Oh, and Noda.
Yeah, yes, you can. One of these, the other needs to be that's what that would be.
No toe? So if you put Noda and then 2 people, how does that work?
Well, Noda would be your number 1 ranked choice. And then the other 2.
There you go. Okay.
Now, yeah, if you're really trying to stack random favorites. And have a successful The answer is you must have a delegate to they be added to the report of delegates. So not
We will. Lump sum.
that is what it says.
We'll be voting for a list on individual.
a piece of paper, and then they count up all the names. Is there some point in there that they make sure all these names are not already in the list? As they compile the names, if names come up that aren't on the list already, do those names need to be the next like before we complete it?
What's this?
The vote was 12-0.
As soon as our lady goes. Yeah, that way I don't have to look at
Take his
things.
coat off, it's like it's better. No, but I'm writing the number down. Yeah, I got it. I was writing it on a piece of paper. Or I can just or I can finish writing it. I was planning on just walking over there and giving it to you. No, the treasurer, yeah, the secretary's here. And the vice chair for the Pensacola, Escambia.
You saved my bacon, my friend. I'm glad I noticed that's why I was still here.
You could have found me, I'd be down in the lobby drinking beer with some people. No, but you could have found me and asked me to look it up. Look it up.
right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to announce that we do have our top three vote getters. They all have a majority, so this will be the only ballot. So the votes are as follows. Mr. Rose with 44 votes, Mr. Sellers with 57 votes, Mr. Carteret with 54, Mr. Thompson with 26, Mr. Jensen with 26, Mr. Requero with 1, J.J. Smith with 1, Noda is 2, Tony the Tiger is 1, and Ron Paul is 1. So congratulations to Mr. Sellers and the Rules Committee. The vote for Tony the Tiger might have been for Sellers. I'm not sure, but we didn't count it. All right. Next, we're up to the election of national delegates. Point of order, Mr. Klaas.
Yeah, so to confirm, so there are 2 with 50 and then 1 with 40. So if you can name the 3 in order, so that way we'll have the names of all 3 that are now officially on this committee.
The top 3 were in order of most was 57 for Mr. Sellers, who's Rule Committee Chair now, 54 for Carteret, and 44 for Mr. Rose. Mr. Carteret, would you mind leading us into the process for the election of delegates?
Okay, so what's going to happen is there's going to be a list presented of everyone who is pre-credentialed to be a delegate. Amendments can be made to this report by the body. After that process is concluded, everyone will write up to 2 names on the ballot, because it is generally assumed a lot of people will vote for themselves. Your ranking in a delegation will be based on the number of votes you receive. Once the delegation is filled, everyone after will be ranked as an alternate. I can tell you from previous national delegation experiences, if you're an alternate, you still show up, because a lot of people can't show up or won't show up. And even if somebody steps out so much as to go to the bathroom, you can fill a seat and vote until they come back.
Mr. Secretary, do you have the answer to that question?
It's either 53 or 54.
Give us one moment.
And to tell people that our campaign is helping to organize. Wait. They might have a different. It could be either 53 or 54.
You know what your girlfriend does, so eat them, but don't say who you got them from. I'll get in trouble. I don't give them to everybody because they're better than
probably
slums deserve.
One final thing: the executive committee, the current is already credentialed and gets first choice at being in the delegation. That's already in the bylaws. I didn't cover that earlier.
Correct. So in a moment, we'll be going through the list. Okay, so 54, we have 54 delegate slots subtracted from the EC members that choose to go to convention. After that, in a moment, we're going to read the list of names that are currently eligible that are currently credentialed for the delegate slots. If your name's not in the list, or if someone would like to make an amendment to add names to the list, that option will be available just momentarily. So before I...
Mr. Chair, point of personal privilege. Adam Kokesh, just a friend of the body, requesting a minute of your time, if I may, please.
Provided there's no objections by the body, it's for Mr. Kokesh to speak for 1 minute.
I would just like to encourage everybody here to be open to being a delegate to the National Convention, whether you're a supporter of mine or not. I really just think it's amazing that you have such a great group here in Florida and could possibly have your delegation filled for at least the first time in a while of recent history, as far as I know, for Florida at the National Convention. Part of what we're doing with our campaign, our state coordinator, Donnie Smith, is here. Where did Donnie go? Oh, right there, excuse me. We're going to be organizing, if it's possible, from out here. It's a 20-hour drive to Austin, maybe some carpooling, maybe some shared transportation, maybe some subsidizing of costs, and organizing Airbnbs around Austin. I know the hotel they're doing that is really expensive. So I just want to encourage people, don't be discouraged if you think you might not be able to do it for financial reasons. There are a lot of generous people in this room here today also who will help you get there. If you're saying, hey, I'd like to go to National, but it's going to be really tough for me. I got to miss work, or I got to get help. It's going to be really tough to pay for transportation and hotel. We want to make it easy as possible for everybody, so I want to encourage everybody to participate this year at the National Convention. It's going to be an awesome year for the Libertarian Party, one way or another. You guys are going to see a little preview of that tonight, obviously. I know there's some really fun anticipation, uniquely Floridian drama building for tonight. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. But I would also encourage the body to be as easy and streamlined and inclusive in this process as possible. Thank you very much.
Mr. Requero, you recognized?
Point of information, Mr. Chair. Did we resolve the number of total delegates? I think I know what the number is, but I don't want to pass out fake news.
54. There's 54 total delegate slots.
So it would be 54 delegates and 54 alternates.
Yes, correct.
Okay, second question.
Technically, it's
55. Should be 55.
Alternates as we want.
Same number.
Same number? Okay, so it's 54, 54.
Now, as EC members are ex officio, do the alternates count? I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
If the body would oblige, Ms. Harlos is in the back, and seems that she would like to be recognized, perhaps pertaining to this very question.
Just a clarification, every state can name up to 50 alternates. It's not the same as your number of delegates. So even a state that had 2 delegates can name 50 alternates, just to clarify that.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos. So what Ms. Harlow said was that each state can pick up to 50 delegate alternates, regardless of the amount of allocated delegates to that state. So even if there's 2 delegates, you can still get 50 alternates. Mr. Requero?
Yes, so the point of information I have now is, do the alternates, the regional rep alternates, count as ex officials? Yeah, I see him shaking his head. I knew that was the answer. Yeah,
No.
okay. Okay.
It's names, it's just put it in landscape.
Bear with us a few more moments while we get the PDF copy of our list up on the screen.
If they count it, that's what they count. I know. Robert can say this, right? I need the answer, but someone after the actor. I didn't know that. They don't. Okay. You're regional. You're under the state. You are official.
I was asked.
No.
They have to contact you. Right. And then you and the secretary have to just add it.
trying to get it onto the screen.
No, the 54 delegates and alternates, and then
Yeah, the vote hasn't occurred, so nobody's ranked. Yeah. No, they're trying to get all the names on the screen.
oh, that are pre, they're already Yes, yes.
We don't have.
Yeah, they're pre-credentialed.
Okay, so what we're going to do is the secretary is going to read the names off the list. If your name's on the list, then you've already been credentialed to be a delegate. If your name is not on the list, then you would need to make a motion to amend the list to add your name so you can be a delegate. After this voting, after this procedure, if you still want to be a delegate to convention, but you're not a regular delegate, you can be a delegate alternate. As a delegate alternate, if a delegate does not show up to Austin, then you'd be next in line to take that seat. Or if people decide to drop off and let us know, we'll remove their names from the list and move your name up. In my experience with the LPF and with the LNC, 10 times out of 10, people don't show up to Austin. So as long as you're an alternate and you show up to Austin, you're going to be a delegate. So as long as you're an alternate, you're good. Even if you don't win this round, just make sure you nominate yourself or come speak to me and our secretary, and we'll make sure we add you as an alternate so you can be more or less guaranteed a spot in Austin as a delegate.
Point of information?
Yes.
So if we're chosen as alternates, what's the procedure used for, okay, we're there in Austin, who are you going to pick to go and fill in?
So how this works is you're going to have two votes. One, you can nominate yourself or you can nominate other people. It's up to you. What happens is that as long as your name is on the list, either you nominate yourself or someone else nominates you, what we're going to do is we're going to have the top vote getters.
It's not.
We're going to have the top vote getters will be delegates. So if we have, let's say we have 54 slots, as long as you're in the top 54, you're considered a delegate. That means you're guaranteed to be a delegate at the table in Austin. If you're a delegate alternate, that means if somebody doesn't show up, then you are a delegate in Austin. So we don't really, that's pretty much how the procedure goes. So if you're an alternate, it's first come, first served, your name gets up. But as long as you show up to Austin, Texas as an alternate and you come see me as a chair, I can make sure I pen you in as a part of our delegation, make sure you get your delegate badge, and I let the credentialing committee know in Austin that you're a delegate, and you get your ribbon, and that way you can vote.
Okay, but what if 20 of us show up? Who are you going to pick? And only 15 slots are available for alternates.
If everybody shows up, if 54 people show up to be delegates in Austin, then that means the delegation's full.
Okay, what if 39 people show up?
Then whatever alternates show up.
And then, well, what if 20 alternates show up? Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Well, thank you. What's the alternate pecking order?
That's what this voting.
This is how this works. So let's say if you're an alternate, let's say that the top 54 vote getters receive, whatever amount of votes. They have 10 or more votes or whatever. So if you're an alternate, you have 3 votes, then you are next in line. If you have 2 votes, you're next in line. If you have 1 vote, then you're last in line, for instance. So that's the order it would go.
Okay.
Typically, it's probably not going to happen, but that would be the theoretical order.
Okay.
I saw you raise your hand. Please go to the microphones. Mr. Detweiler, you're recognized.
As just a point of information for the gentleman with the question, typically there are plenty of states that do not get fully sat. So if you do not make it as a delegate into our state, but we can make recommendations to other states that we have extra alternates, and a lot of times states will pick up our alternates, so you will be a delegate at convention, just not under the state of Florida banner.
Yes. Hawaii and Alaska typically don't have a full delegation.
Arizona, Arkansas, California.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, John Babb from Broward County. I'm just not sure about the 54, the number 54. Have you already subtracted out all of the EC members who are automatically, made delegates by virtue of their office? And that's the 54 is the number of delegates that we'll be voting on now? Or you're going to subtract the EC members from the 54?
Mr. Catterick, can you clarify, if an EC member nominates themselves, no matter the amount of nominations, are they an automatic delegate, or are they automatically a delegate regardless if they receive a nomination or not?
They are automatic. I'm sorry. This one's not working. They are automatically a delegate regardless. They don't have to nominate themselves or vote for themselves.
So there is currently on the executive committee.
Mr. Chairman?
So to answer your question, the first 16, the current EC members are automatic, which if we subtract that from 54, there's 38.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Without objection, Ms. Carlos?
Just for information, you had mentioned Alaska and Hawaii. Most states are in the very fortunate position that I doubt there will be any states that do not fill their delegation. I was in California last weekend, and these are some rough numbers, but I believe they had 250 people competing for their 107 delegate spots plus 50 alternates. So they couldn't even see the wannabe more hopefuls as alternates. So don't count on any state not filling their delegation, and the ones that don't probably don't see out-of-state delegates such as Colorado.
Thank you, Ms. Harlow. Mr. Sellers, you're recognized.
Please advise if it is time to amend the report, and if not, when it is time. That would be a point of information.
Point of order.
Yes, Mr. Requero.
Number 17 says Cody's alternate. Who is that?
You can just disregard line 17, and everybody from 16 up is in, and 18 down is the rest of the list.
Mr. Chair, if you could repeat that for everybody in the room, please.
Basically, Ms. Suzanne, could you repeat that for me to repeat?
16 was Cody Moser, but he resigned.
16 was Cody Moser. He resigned from the committee.
So we left that spot there.
Okay, so it was left there in case Cody Moser had an alternate to fill that position, but because there's none, then that position is technically vacant and does not count towards the delegation count.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I may. Cody is Cody Moser, Region 1 rep, who resigned. We'll have a Region 1 rep after voting tomorrow, but right now Region 1 is vacant, Region 1 rep.
We have 30 minutes left in our day. I'd like to accept is there any motions to amend or any motions or any other further discussion?
Is my name actually?
Mr. Sellers.
I move to add Mr. Louis Vanacore to the list. I nominate him as a delegate pending credentialing by the secretary.
All right, Mr. Secretary, did you get that name? Mr. Sellers, could you write that or come up front to give us that name? Mr. Requero, are you seeking to be recognized? Mr. Peel, you're recognized.
I move to add Lawrence Gillis of Lee County to the list of delegates.
Please come up to the front so we can make sure we get the name correct. Are there any further motions to amend? Mr. Appler, are you able to read the list? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and read the list.
Everybody wants to make sure they didn't get missed.
Right. So we're going to read the list, so if you hear your name, that means you're included. If not, you don't hear that name, then we can start making amendments. So Mr. Appler, go ahead.
Okay, beginning with the left-hand column, Stephen Nikela, J. Mark Barfield, Edward Appler, John Olivadotti, Suzanne Gilmore, Davy Parrish, Naveen Zakari, Paul Jones, Michael Cassidy, Tegan Joseph, Brian Zemina, Donna Olivadotti, John Thompson, David DeForest, Lee Koritzer, Joshua Curtis. Line 17 now reads Cody's alternate, Connor Riker, Ricardo Mejias, James Jensen, Mark Tanzer, Wesley Wilson, James Ray, Kenneth Willie, Paul Mascarelli, Denise Mascarelli, Lisa Barfield, Jonathan Loche, Martha Bueno, Kenneth Hughes, Daryl O'Kane, Samantha Broderick, Andrew Dalton, Marcia Powell, Joanna Tartaglia, David Tartaglia, Tony Sellers, Stephen Dieter, James Turney, Wayne Jackman, Sean Coons, Mark Rodriguez, Donnie Smith, Philippe Tiffany, Gabe Wozniak, Joshua Godawa, Omar Recuero, Joseph Maraca, Bob Frank, Mitchell Wiechek, George Leibovitz, Gregory Peel, Marie Peel, and William Curran.
There's more at the top. You gotta scroll up and go over.
That was the left column. Now I'm reading the alternates. Right now on the alternates, there are 15 names. The alternates currently popping in the list are Susan George, Shane George, Michael Smith, John Luke Teskey, Spencer Garber, Charles Sanders, Ashley McCoy, Lawrence Gillis, Maria Alexandra Garcia, Dennis Missigoy, Justin Costley, Christopher Rhodes, Julia Hall, Soraya Foss, and Donnie Smith.
Actually, I'm not on that list, am I? And Philippe is not on the list.
Mr. Chair.
That was because of the error with the website. I was one of the first to sign up. Yeah, the error, the website didn't have that on there, and I was one of the first to get a convention ticket. I was like number 2 or 3.
Mr. Chair, I move to amend the list.
Mr. Coons, you're recognized.
I move to amend the list to include Mr. Zach Detweiler.
Okay. Is it anybody else?
Mr. Chair,
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for the purpose of allowing anybody who would like to make an amendment to be able to come up to our secretary and add that name to the list. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Mr. Klass. All right, all in favor of the motion to suspend the rules, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to allow anybody who'd like to make an amendment to come up to the secretary and add their people. Is there a second?
Yeah, seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Cataret. All in favor, please say aye.
To allow people to just come
All opposed, say nay.
Yeah, write the names down.
All right, motion
Write the names
passes.
down for right now.
So if you have names you'd like to add to the list, please come on up and we'll get those included for you.
It's better, yeah, if you just write it so that it's legible would be great. Oh, okay.
Mr. President, or Mr. Chair.
I read it. So Tony gets to turn.
He's a delegate for LPF.
Well, you know what it is too, is they're going up to check to see if they are on it, and if they are not on it, then they are adding people to it.
Your delegate badge for this convention doesn't transfer over to national.
We don't have that many people here, and I do not believe that you can nominate someone if they are not in the room, nor or they have not sent in an acceptance of the delegate nomination. Just saying.
Yeah, no one is actually an alternate or a delegate except for the EC until the vote is concluded. That's actually
Correct. We're not. We haven't gotten.
That's order of submission is all he really has.
Seems to be.
The EC is set. It's set in this convention. That is the list of EC members. And then any further points. Yeah, those 16 are the EC members. You're not going to. Yeah, if your EC changes tomorrow, you don't get a new slate. Okay, say that loudly. If the EC changes tomorrow, there's no new slate. Right. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, make sure that they understand that.
I want to make something clear. The EC that is already serving the 2019 to 2020 term are the ones that are already delegates for the 2020 Austin Convention. If the EC composition changes tomorrow, that does not change what's being done here today. So I just want to make that clear, that if you're a region representative tomorrow, for instance, you will not be an automatic delegate. Only the current EC will be automatic delegates to Austin. Yes, Mr. Abdodi?
So Cody's alternate, how does that work out?
They did. There was no alternate. You just don't bump it up and bump it off.
Okay.
Yeah. Just strike it.
Then there's only 15.
God damn it.
Yeah. I don't see anticipated.
Okay. So there might still be some confusion. So if your name was not on the list, or if somebody you're voting for, their name is not on the list, they need to be added to the list so that we can vote for them. So if you have somebody or you yourself are not on the list, we need to add them to the list so we can vote for them. You have 2 votes. You can nominate yourself. If you are the top 36 or whatever it is, minus the executive committee, you are guaranteed a delegate slot. If you do not make it into the top 36, then you will be rewarded with an alternate slot. Delegates have priority at convention to be a delegate. The alternates will be delegates if the delegates that were supposed to show up did not show up. So I just want to make that clear, that if your name is not on the list or somebody you know who you want to nominate is not on the list, they must be added now. If you have somebody between now and convention who wants to be a delegate to Austin, who is a registered LPF member and qualifies, you can email the secretary and I, and we will add them as an alternate, but they will not have the opportunity to be in this vote today and be a guaranteed delegate.
They will be added at the end of the list.
And they will be added at the end of the list in order of submission. So if, for instance, if everybody does show up to the convention in Austin, and we do have a more or less full delegation, and too many alternates show up, it will be given out in the order that it was received or the order of votes, whichever is higher.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Detweiler?
Yes, so while the rules are suspended, I would like to make a motion. It's
Please be quiet so we can continue business. If you're not up here with the secretary, please sit down and please be quiet for your fellow members. Mr. Detweiler, you're recognized.
Yeah, while the rules are suspended, I would like to make a procedural motion, please. It is currently 5:45. We only have 15 minutes left until the conclusion of today's business meeting. I would like to extend that time by 30 minutes for the purpose of allowing this vote and time to count. That way we have enough time, and that would extend out to 6:30.
We have a motion on the floor to extend the business meeting until 6:30. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Requero. We'll now open the floor up to discussion. Is there any discussion on this item?
Point of information.
Yes, sir.
Does the hotel need time to clean the room or anything?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Are we getting kicked out?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just want to make sure.
Then I'll be ruling that motion out of order, unfortunately. But if we get our votes in quickly, then I can have Mr. Mijas come up here and give his presentation for platform while we count the votes.
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Requero?
What time do we have to be out the room?
What time do we have to be out of here?
Yeah.
6. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pass out ballots. Remember that you can only vote for the names that were added to the list. You have 2 votes.
Do we have more paper ballots?
Mr. Chair? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to move platform to the next. I think if we don't, Chris, if we don't hear it, it goes to tomorrow.
These are the names added before the vote, prior to the vote.
I don't need to motion. It goes to tomorrow.
So it's going to take me 5 minutes to put these in the spreadsheet.
Well, we can move to postpone the vote till tomorrow if we have to.
Yeah, we can do that too.
Because he's going to put all the names in.
There's like 15 or 20 names here. I could read these names out. But to put them in the spreadsheet. I would suggest we
yeah, we don't have time for whatever either. Okay.
They're not going to get this vote in today.
Yeah. Well, the motion is just to go into recess. Everything on the agenda has been moved back. It's just a motion to recess. It's always it's in order. Yep, sorry.
Mr. Detweiler, you are recognized, sir.
Yes, as a procedural motion, I would like to put us into recess so that we can conduct this vote tomorrow when we have the time to actually do the full business of counting it. Because we would be going into recess while we were counting, we cannot conduct business while we are in recess. So we could neither count the votes nor be able to give the vote tally until tomorrow anyway. So if we move the vote, or if we go into recess, then the vote will be the first thing on the business tomorrow.
I'll entertain that motion, but before we do that, I'd like to make my own motion, and if there's no objection, there is a scheduling conflict with tomorrow. Right now, we're scheduled to come into the room at 9:30. I'd like to make that 10. I'd like to motion to suspend the rules to change tomorrow's start time till 10 a.m. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Parrish. Any objections? Hearing none, we'll move to the main motion. Do I have a second to make the start time tomorrow 10 a.m.? Seconded. Any objections? All right, hearing none, motion passes. Mr. Detweiler.
Okay, so we are now at the point of making a motion to go into recess so that we can finish conducting business tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Is there a second for Mr. Detweiler's motion? Second, Mr. Wozniak. Is there any objections to recessing now and continuing business tomorrow? So platform and the votes will be continued tomorrow. So if we recess now, we'll automatically go back into business tomorrow as according to our agenda.
Has everybody gotten a chance to get put on the list?
Point of information.
Mr. Requero?
The last thing on the agenda was announcements. Are we doing that? Or did we just recess?
We'll just go into recess with this motion. All right, well, we're currently in the middle of a vote. It was seconded. There was no objections. Therefore, the motion passes. So we're now in recess. Congratulations, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I do want to say real quick that Izzy Alley will be hosting a breakout session immediately after the meeting called Solving the Millennial Puzzle. So I look forward to seeing you that. If not, I have my bag here. I'm going to go take a shower and suit up. I'll see you guys later tonight.
Completed ballots.
I don't know.
That was so if you, when you're writing the minute at the end, leave the count.
I'm not sure.
Right, but
Plus, I got to put the notes.
right, but it's your backup. Do what you want to. It's your backup.
Safeguard all day to get to.
I told him,
Help me out here.
I'm going to open up the podium to some announcements while we finish up.
Hey guys, two quick announcements. Hey, the first is, when we do this vote tomorrow, if you think honestly that you can't make it to Austin, then what you want to do is vote for people who are going to make it. So that's the easiest way to resolve conflict. The second thing I want to point out is, Marcos, where are you? Marcos Morero? There he is. Andre, where are you? Andre. We have two candidates in the room. We have 100 people here. If you guys donated $5 right now to their campaigns, think about how much money that would be and how it would benefit them. Please, please, we need to support two candidates who have a realistic chance of winning a partisan office here in Central Florida. Please, I'm donating right now to him, and please, let's follow that example. There are two candidates, just $5 each, please. Thank you.
We're canceling breakouts now?
You're gonna have to. Why would we have to? Sunday. I mean, it's only till 2 p.m. I'm sure we can extend that too. There may be an argument too with the private strip club.
Make it rain, make it rain.
This vote is gonna take a while. Let's go record it over here.
Goddamn FEC.
Well, we're gonna have to go through it. Yeah, we'll have to tally everybody up.
As early as you can.
9:58. You hit that gavel. Oh yeah. Oh no, we're gonna start at 10 o'clock.
It's going to take time.
Yeah, it's gonna take time. I think well, originally Sunday we actually were gonna have business till like 5 o'clock. So I think it'll be less easier to extend time on Sunday later in the day if we have to move the meeting over
That way we have a full list.
But I think we have the room for a while. Yeah, no, we need it. I'm gonna make sure that we get it. Yeah, break it. Yeah, good point. Break and check out if they need to. 12:30 to 1:30. Well, 12. I'm gonna go try to figure out what's on the everything. Hey, how's it going? I'm not sure I got it. Shares debate. Shares debate of everyone's. Breakfast LP chair debate 7:30 to 8:30. And then we have 9:30, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. breakfast. So yeah, we'll need a break in the middle of like around 11:30 or. Oh yeah, so we'll see that. So then lunch. So, okay, so technically,
My name is
the business meeting and lunch is at 2.
You're on the delegate list?
Just making sure.
Yep.
New to this whole process.
Oh, you're good.
Tomorrow.
You gave every goddamn committee report. I don't know why. So we can strike that on the agenda tomorrow.
Here's the treasurer.
Yes. You're making a donation? Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Definitely helps. I am now, as of recently re-elected as Oh, no. No, I will be, after. Yes, the secretary is
Apparently, I'm going to be speaking right after. I just don't know if it's going to be on the table or the podium. You want to make an announcement? Go ahead.
Yeah, why not? Yep. Here we go. Yeah. Hi there, everyone. It's Andre Class again, candidate for Seminole County Commission District 5. Just want to remind you, thank you. Just want to remind to everybody that for the convention, I have a promotion that if you donate $25 or more, you get a free T-shirt. I have all sizes available, so if you want an official Andre Class for Seminole County Commission District 5 T-shirt, just donate $25 or more. Come up to me. I can process a credit card or take cash or whatever you prefer. And I have any size for all body types. So every dollar helps support a great cause and supporting my organic outreach. Thank you.
You got that, Cable?
Sorry to bother you. Have you written down all the counts that are satisfied so I can throw in ballots?
It's interesting that it's gotten to this.
I'm not sure I got the numbers written.
Is there a recording going on? Are these mics hot?
There's a recording.
Okay, then you can listen back to it and just to get the count.
But if you've got the notes, I'll just get those. Yeah, I'm gonna give you these.
You know what? It doesn't hurt to hold them. If you can, if you want to hold them.
It's a good practice to hold them just in case there's somebody brings it up.
I will go collect them.
Okay, thank you. I'll make you your own notes. These are just the notes of the hour. Yeah.
And also remember too, you can always take photos.
Always take what?
You can always take a photo with your phone.
I don't have a phone.
Okay, I'm just giving you a tip. Sometimes when I run out, like, oh hey, I'll take a photo of it. This way you can keep it, and I have a photocopy of it on my phone.
I've gotten notes on everything except these ballots. I'm kind of busy. So yes.
Okay, this looks like it's working.
Sure. Take your time.
I'm sorry. Let me
Give me just 1 second, my dear. It's really important. Every single person has a garbage shit. That is disgusting.
I'll help clean, okay? You need someone to help? I'll contribute.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
I mean, at this point, it might be too late. So I'll just make the announcement tomorrow and tell people to, when they leave to please clean up after themselves. This isn't a movie theater. Everybody's already evacuated. Everybody needs to sign in the morning again. Right, yeah. Quorum, and then people need to announce or come up and tell me so I can check them off as they leave. Oh, yeah. Well, you'll be able to check people in the morning, and so as long as you have quorum from the beginning, right, then I think we're okay. Right, but we gotta start all over again to count the numbers. Yeah, no, we definitely will, because there's gonna be people that be checking out today or leaving today. So we'll do a quorum call in the morning first thing, and then we'll do the credentials report. We'll do the credentials report. We'll do a quorum call. Then we'll move on to the vote for delegates, and then we'll move on to the platform, and then we'll follow Sunday's agenda. Well, I understand the delegate selection process correctly. People have to choose from what's on this list. That's correct. It's very convoluted. So all these new names that I just had. So we literally have to go through and we have to credential all these names right now.
Yes, then that would save you some time. If I can't credential them, there's no reason for me to put them on the list. Let's find Philip, because in the past, the way we've done it seems a little more smooth. And I don't know if you're doing things differently.
Just let me know when to start.
I only worked for that 2 years ago. I don't really remember it being smooth. Yeah, that's true. Good point. But let's find everybody. Let's find Ricardo. Let's find Philip and ask him, and maybe Suzanne, so you can kind of get a clear picture of what to do next. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. So, here, let's take it off stage because he's got to start a presentation.
Awesome.
All right, easy.
Let me know when to start, okay?
Once we clear the
Thanks.
stage.
Okay. Sure.